Saddle up, shit kickers. It's time to ride.
All right, welcome everybody to the very first part of my multi-part series on electrical and lighting. This is the very first one, so we're going to start with the extreme basics, and believe it or not, you might learn a thing or two. It's pretty cool. Now, first of all, every one of these items that I have out here create what I call a field or a passive field. The field is 2 blocks in every direction. Now, you would think that the big pylons would generate something bigger, but they don't. It's still only 2 blocks. The switch right there that I was just on, that one there, only generates 1 block in every direction. But besides that, everything else that you see there generates in 2. And just to go ahead and show you, I'll throw up a couple of lights. You can see it's like real close to the top, but just a little farther, the light won't light. So it's just 2 blocks in every direction. So it's kind of basically like a circle. And I used this one because it had a switch, and I just wanted to show you that you can turn it off and on with the switch of that pylon. Okay, now I'm going to tell you how I create what I call a dominant field. Now, what I mean by a dominant field is that I'm going to create a field for my or let's say I'm building a settlement and I want to run a bunch of lights, but I also want to run some other things. Well, I want my lights to be on the dominant field. So there's a way to make sure that that happens, and I'm going to show you how I do it. Now, I have these quarter floorboards out, and I'm putting these electrical conduits down. The reason is because I can move them anywhere I want to, and because the wiring touches the floor, it won't give me crap. And I'm just going to place them about 3 boards apart. Even though the field is 2 boards, kind of overlap them a little bit. It helps cut down on the gap in between, which you'll see what I mean here in a minute when I put lights out. Now, to start off creating the dominant field, make sure you install all of your electrical first that you want to be on the dominant field line. As you can see, I had no lighting out. It's just the electrical conduits, the wiring, and the switch. Now I'll go ahead and place out the lights. And 2 boards away, you can see that it lights up. Now here in the middle, it's a little bit of a gap, so it's not quite 2 boards away. There you go, and I'll place another light down to show you that it's just outside the field, so it won't light up. And I think I do it one more time here as well. Yep, there you go. And in the center. Now, if you were doing that on the other side, you could just offset your electrical conduits and it would fill the gap up nicely. Now what we've done is we've created a dominant field. This field will always be there, and it'll be the one that overpowers all the other fields, if there are any that you have overlapping. Okay, we'll go ahead and pick these lights up real quick. And that is the basics for the lighting. I'm sure you guys all know that, but by doing it this way, we created, like what I said, a dominant field. Okay, on to the next segment. Okay, welcome back, everybody. For this part of the segment, I'm going to show you guys how to actually hook up your lighting 3 different ways. And I'm going to do so by showing you how to use different fields. Now, if you remember right, fields are the aura, or the area of effect that each conduit or each item puts out. So now for each setup, I'm going to go ahead and build it the same exact way. I'm going to put up 2 switches, going to put up a couple of electrical conduits, And the reason I'm going to do it exactly the same way is to show you guys that it doesn't matter how you apply the items, it matters how you hook them up. So now we'll go ahead and put conduits on this side and hook them up, and then we'll use this switch first and hook it to power, and we'll make it our dominating field. And now I'll go ahead and apply the lighting. And you can see that the field is quite wide there. It even lights up this side of the wall. But now as I put the lights on this wall, they're not lighting up. The reason is because they are outside the range of the dominating field. So now I'll hook up the other switch and the lights are now on. They are now inside that conduit's field. But the other field, this side, is still the dominating field. As you can see, the conduits on the right-hand side are very close to the lights, but the lights on the left-hand side are controlled by the switch because it's a dominating field. Okay, now for this one, it's the same exact thing. The difference is I'm going to make the dominating field on the right-hand side. So once again, we'll start off by placing everything down exactly the same way. So the two switches come out, the electrical conduits, and once again, the reason I'm doing this is to show you that it doesn't matter how you hook your items up, it matters how you hook it to your power. Alright, now we did do this switch last time as our dominating field, but this time we're going to do the right hand side. So we'll hook it up first, and to prove to you that it still doesn't matter, we're going to put the lights on the left side of the wall first. Now if we would have repeated the process from the last time, we would have put the lights on the right side right here first, and then put the other lights on last. But as you can see, it doesn't make any difference because we've created our dominating field by hooking that right hand switch up first. And as I switch them on and off, you'll see that now the right hand side is the one that is dominating. So it only really matters what side you hook up to power first. Okay, now in this part what I've done is I've gone back to the original very first electrical setup that I showed you, where the left hand side is the dominating field. The right hand side is the passive field. And there's a couple of things that we can do here. And I'm sure you guys have had problems where some lights didn't work, some lights did work, whatever the deal is. I'm going to show you why. There's something that happens when you hook up the power. And I'm going to go ahead and put up a couple of lights here. And if you noticed, I had both switches on. And there's a reason why. Because I'm going to show you that the dominant field has changed. So we're going to switch off the switch. Bang. Now the center light has turned off. And the reason is because as soon as we hooked the last switch up, it became the dominating field. And it doesn't matter how many lights that you put in there, it will run and power every one of those lights. Now, this is really actually pretty simple, even though it seems a little complicated. Just one light can change your field, your dominating field. And you can change it from passive to dominating. And as you can see, when I switch off our original dominating field, only the lights that were hooked to it originally went off. Now our dominating field is the right-hand side. And now I'm going to show you how to change that back. We'll go ahead and take all those lights off. And then what we'll do is we'll disconnect the right-hand side from power. And then with one light back up, we have now made the left-hand side our dominating field side again. We'll hook the power back up, and once again, only the right side powers the right lights, and the left side powers all of the lights. And it doesn't matter how many more lights we hook up, the left side has become the dominating field once again. Now I know it seems kind of confusing, and you know, this really caused a lot of problems in my lighting. But once I understood how it worked, I was able to really do things that I hadn't really thought of before because of it. So it's actually, you know, a godsend, because you can change back and forth just by one light which field you want as your dominating field. So we'll go ahead and take these lights back off. And once again, as you can see, we're still left-hand side is dominating side. And right-hand side only controls the right hand. It's now the passive. Okay. Okay, and this one here is the third and final way I hook up my lights. Now I am going to go ahead and hook them up exactly the same. The difference is I'm going to place the lights in first. Now this creates like well, I call it a non-passive, but it's like the whole area is now the dominating field, and it will stay that way. There's not really any way to change it other than going back and repeating the earlier processes that we did. I'll go ahead and hook up the electrical exactly the same way. Switches are out, electrical conduits go down. Like I said, the only difference here is the lights were placed in first. And we'll go ahead and hook the wires up. And I'm doing this to just show you that it really doesn't matter. It's how you hook them up. So you can place these in any old way, just like we've been doing before. It's the way we're going to hook them up. And the difference here is the lights went in first. So we'll go ahead and hook the left switch up to power. And if you notice, everything came on, even the lights that are not in its field. Now, as I grab the wire here from this switch, notice how it has power. Now, you know, like I said, I'm not really for sure why it does this. It's not hooked to power. The only difference is the lights went in first. So somehow the lights generate a field. And this is really actually kind of helpful. If you have multiple entrants and you're wanting to put switches in at each entrance, this is a great way to do it. And you can get all your lights to work from each switch, even if they're connected to different power, just by placing the lights in first. Okay, now for this part, it's just an addition to what we were already doing. We're in the non-passive mode, so our lights are still working the same way they were just a second ago. Now I turn off the switch because I want to show you that adding the light in still does not change what we're in. So that's why I think that the whole aura here is a dominating field. And as you can see, all the lights still came on just from the one switch. Now with the switch on, I'm still going to place another light up to show you that it still just doesn't matter. It's still in that same non-passive mode. Now that last light I put up is just to show you that it does have a border or a boundary, and it's only as far as the last electrical conduit that's in the chain. So, you know, this is really actually quite strange how this works. It is repeatable, so I know that there's got to be a reason why it does it. I just haven't discovered exactly why. And once again, you know, a comment from somebody that might know would be awesome to hear from. But this really helps fill up a large area with very few conduits. As you can see, we've almost filled this entire floor up just by 4 conduits. And they're actually quite tight. Okay. Alright, for this next part, it's just kind of a little bit of a teaser to show you what we're going to be working on the next video. What we're going to do is we're going to take everything that we learned from this video and we're going to apply it to real life working items, functioning items. And what I've done here is set up a couple of doors and some lights and put them on different switches and they're different fields, and as you can see, they are working perfectly. And for the third door, excellent. And we'll turn the lights back on one more time, and we'll also do the doors so that way you can see that they are working great and nothing is interfering with one another. Alright, let's close up the doors. Now, you know, in this little bit here, I'm not going to really explain how I did this. I'm just going to kind of show you a little bit. We're going to save that for the second video. And I'll show you guys how I run these conduits. I'll show you how I run them through the walls, how you can miss the windows and the doors, and how, you know, you just use your different fields, your dominating fields, your passive fields, and non-passive fields to be able to operate multiple items from the same power source even. You can use different power sources or the same. You don't really have to have individual power to run the individual items. You just have to have the correct amount of power. As you can see real quick there, I'm kind of showing how you don't really see the wiring, even though it's running on the walls underneath. And I'll just pull up the upper wall real quick. The upper wall actually has the dominating field. It's the one that runs the lights. I want it overpowering everything else. So the dominating field is the upper one. Now, the reason why I have it up one level is, if you remember, the fields go 2 blocks in every direction. Well, if I have it on the ground, I'll only go 2 high. But if I have it 1 wall up, I'll get 2 more walls above that plus the wall below me. And then plus I go about every 3 walls running the cord. That way they lap together just like we discussed in the first part of the video. Well, let's take a quick look at the bottom part here. I'll just pull them out real quick so you can see how I have the electrical conduits hooked up. And once again, I won't explain to you how I did it until the next video. But it's quite simple, it's quite easy, and as long as we stick to the rules that we just went over, creating our fields, everything will work perfectly for you. And you can see the different ways they're hooked up. Looks a little complicated, but once you kind of get down the basics, which we've been going over, you'll in no time be making cool stuff. Or I should say cooler stuff, because I'm pretty sure you're making some pretty cool stuff already. Okay, well, that's about it for this video. I appreciate you guys stopping in, checking me out. I hope the information that I provided here on this video was helpful, and I sure hope you leave me a comment or hit that like button, and you know, the subscribe button always helps out quite a bit as well. It'll allow you to know that I got more videos coming out, which I try to get a few out every week. Well, until next time, guys, which I look forward to seeing you again, have a great day. Stay safe.